The NFL, being in the offseason for the most part, has been able to operate business as usual. Compared to the MLB, compared to the NBA, compared to the NHL, every other sport, obviously, that's in season has put to a halt. But the NFL continues to go business as usual, and now they are proposing 2 rule changes that will be voted upon by the owners this week that could be implemented in this 2020 season. I think, like I said, one would be a great rule change that I think will bring a lot of excitement to the game. One I think could bring some more controversy. So start with the great. And the first one I think that could be great is a change to the onside kick. So instead of having an onside kick where, teams are desperate to try to get the ball back, they kick it 10 yards. It's been very futile at best. It's really trying to hit the lottery to try to recover an onside kick nowadays. But now, instead of having the onside kick, the NFL is proposing you take that out, right? So no more onside kicks allowed. And instead, if you wanted to try to have a way to get the ball back instead of just kicking off, you can instead have a 4th down and 15 play from your own 25-yard line. So the onside kick is out. Now all of a sudden you need the ball back. You're down by 4 with a minute left, and you need to try to get the ball back quick. You can opt for getting the ball, one offensive play from your own 25-yard line. Again, you have to get 15 yards to get the first down. If you get the first down, you keep the ball, and obviously the drive goes from there. If you don't get it, the other team will get the ball wherever the play is down. If you start on your own 25-yard line, the quarterback is sacked at the 20-yard line. The other team takes the ball over at your own 20-yard line. Until you get 10 yards, you come up short, you get to the 35, boom, the other team takes over at the 35-yard line. So teams can do that twice a game in any quarter at any time. So you could be up 45-0, you want to send a message in the third quarter, boom, you can opt to do it. If you're down by, 30 in the fourth quarter, you can opt to do it. So the only limit is you can do it twice a game, but you can do it any quarter. You don't have to be trailing, you could be leading, you could be tied. Any point in the game, you just got to do it twice. You can do it. And I think, to me, this rule would be great for the NFL. Absolutely great. Because you know why? The onside kick is essentially dead. It is essentially useless. It is, again, a futile act that you have a better chance of winning the lottery than recovering an onside kick. And really what killed the onside kick are the new kickoff rules that were implemented after the 2017 season. So really the last 2 years, teams on the kickoff couldn't start running until the ball was kicked. Up until that point, up until 2017, those players that are on the kickoff team can basically run up to where the ball is just really whenever. They can follow the kicker starts to jog up, those team can jog up. So by the time the ball is kicked, you have a running start, you can get down there as fast as possible. Where the NFL wanted to promote safety, wanted to take some of the collisions out of the game, so they enforced that now those on the kickoff team, you can't start running until the ball is kicked. And with that, that's kind of hurt the onside kick because now if you don't get a running start, don't have any momentum going for the ball, which you're going to only have to go 10 yards, so you're working with a short space here. If you have to start basically flat-footed, it's so hard to recover these onside kicks, and the stats back that up. So since the kickoff rules were changed 2 years ago, the onside kick recovery rate is just 10.5%. Now, if you think, 4th and 15, that's just as hard to convert, I'm sure the percentages can't be that high. Credit to Andrew Siciliano of NFL Network. If you're used to the red zone on DirecTV, he is your man. So teams have converted 4th and 15 24.1% of the time. So more than double. You have a better chance of converting a 4th and 15 than recovering an onside kick. And I'll take this all day. I love this because you know why? You know what it does all of a sudden? It opens the door. It makes a possibility of a comeback more attainable. It makes the end of games more exciting. Now, again, instead of watching a kick that could take a lucky bounce, maybe you get lucky 1 out of every 30 times, it feels like, of recovering an onside kick. All of a sudden now, if you have a great offense, 4th and 15 doesn't seem that bad. If you're the Chiefs, you have Patrick Mahomes, and you're down by 7, and you have a chance, one play to get 15 yards, I'm feeling pretty damn good about it. So all of a sudden now, the comebacks are more likely, the games at the end of games get more exciting, and it adds also some strategy as well. I mean, you can use this at any time. If you feel the momentum shifting, let's say in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, and you want to take control with your offense, you can go for it. You can play keep away. And the best part is there is a significant punishment if you don't get it. You give the other team great field position if you don't get it. So sure, 4th and 15, the conversion rate is double than an onside kick, so maybe it feels like it cheapens the comeback or it's easier to come back, but the risk is also greater. Because now think about it. Kickoffs are at the 35-yard line. If you kick off 10 yards and you don't get it, the other team is getting it at the closest to 45. All of a sudden now you don't get it. You're on your own 25-yard line, 30, 35-yard line. These teams are getting the ball a lot closer to your end zone. So at least to me, it takes a boring aspect out of the game, a hopeless, almost, pursuit out of the game, and it adds excitement. It makes the game more exciting now, makes it a must-watch at the end of games. See, you know what? This team is, if they have the offense clicking now in the second half, all of a sudden, 4th and 15 doesn't seem that impossible. So to me, I love the NFL recognizing boring parts of the game, taking them out, and now allowing for, again, more comebacks to happen and allow the games to become more exciting and closer down the stretch, which gets more eyeballs on those games. And I'll give the NFL credit here, too. I think part of it is safety. They're trying their hardest and their best to take the kickoff out of the game. They don't want collisions. You see kickoff, the collision rates are the highest, the injury rates are the highest. They are trying to eliminate that as much as possible. And part of that is taking away the onside kick. I mean, you have guys 10 yards apart running basically as fast as they can at each other and hitting each other. kicked out of the game, all of a sudden now an offensive play at 4th and 15 doesn't seem that dangerous compared to what an onside kick is. Probably the motivation there is safety first, but with that also benefits us, the viewer, because now games are more exciting and teams have a better chance of coming back, which again makes games closer and must watch to the end. And here's where I'll give the NFL credit as well. Because for the most part, when you are as successful as the NFL is, when you're in such a royal space where they are so far ahead of every other sports league, and in terms of the American culture, basically the most important part of that culture, right? You see every football game is always the highest ranked every single year on network television. Above the Oscars, above the Golden Globes, above really any TV show that's on cable TV, the NFL is always at the top. And the Super Bowl, by far, is always at the top. So football is a part of our culture. When I feel like you're that successful, it's easy to kind of look at what other leagues are doing, what other even football leagues are doing, and kind of scoff at it and say, we're the NFL, we're the best. Nothing we can't touch can't turn to gold. And I think it's easy to get complacent and roll your eyes when different leagues are trying different ways to kind of, get some fan interest. And to be fair, the NFL wasn't the first league to think of this idea of basically getting rid of the onside kick. The AAF, the spring football league that started last year that folded 3 games into the season, credit to them because they were the ones who came up with this idea. They were the ones that gave teams the option of instead of an onside kick, you could basically have one offensive play to go for it. So I give the NFL credit where they saw the AAF do it, a lesser spring league that, again, didn't make it a full season. Didn't even make it the first season, went bankrupt. So a ton of problems, ton of issues. But they saw an idea that they liked. They saw an idea that, this could actually work well in our game. And they're going to adopt it and hopefully vote it into the game. And we'll see, again, the owners will vote this week to see if it actually will be implemented for 2020. But I like seeing the NFL embracing ideas that could work for them. Again, it's easy to get complacent, easy to kind of roll your eyes at other leagues trying to get gimmicky or trying to have ideas to try to drum up some interest, drum up some excitement. And credit the NFL for seeing a good idea and trying to execute it and take it for their own. So I respect the NFL for adapting to what we want and making the games more exciting. So I think that rule is great for the NFL. I'm praying that it passes. I think only the games will get more exciting and adds more strategy now at the end of the games. I think is important and again will be exciting as well for us, the fans. The rule that I'm worried about here, and it has some good intentions, but as we saw other rules have good intentions turn out to fail miserably, is the possible addition of a sky judge, which is basically an 8th official that would be in the booth upstairs kind of reviewing plays as go on. So if a call is missed, they can buzz down and say, hey, a holding on number 78 was missed, throw the flag. Or if a call was made on the field and they say, you know what, that didn't really happen. There's no pass interference there. Or actually, he didn't get the face mask, he got the shoulder, and pick up the flag. So that's the goal of the sky judge, and that's going to also be voted upon to add an extra official to the crews to, again, help kind of clean up mistakes and help find missed calls. Because as we know, last year, NFL officials were criticized. They have one of the hardest jobs in sports because guess what? The players are getting faster. The game is faster. And the TV angles and replay is so pristine and so fine that us sitting on our couch, 3 seconds after a play is over, we can see if that was a penalty or not. We can see if he was inbounds or out of bounds. And again, within seconds, we know whether the referees made the right call or missed it. And unfortunately, again, when the game is moving that fast, when you're working with humans and there's only 7 on the field and there's so much responsibility that they have every single play, their job is very hard. I don't think we give referees enough respect for how truly hard their job is. And now, again, especially with replay, it has become that much harder and the scrutiny has become that much more intense. So I think on the surface, this is an area and this is a proposal that, sure, get an extra official on the field. It could help the referees get the right call quickly. And again, it could really clean up some mistakes so that way we're complaining less about the calls or the missed calls on the field and we're more focused on the actual players playing the game, which I think that the NFL actually has a real problem with. Right now, we are too concerned or too preoccupied with what the officials are calling and not calling, and our focus is diverted away from the actual action on the field. Right? First thing we do, I know I do it, and I think this is kind of a reaction now that we all have. First time a deep ball is thrown, the receiver and the DB are fighting, incomplete. First thing we look for, flag. The first thing the receiver does when he comes up, if he hits the ground, look for a flag. It's kind of our reaction now. Every big play, is there a flag? Is there a flag? Is there a flag on the field? That's always kind of, we always have to wait an extra second or two to see if that yellow graphic pops up on the scorebook. Flag, big play, big run. Oh, man, he's going to get called back. Is there a flag? So I think, we've kind of trained and conditioned ourselves to always kind of get ready for a flag. And I personally think there's been too many flags and the referees have gotten too much involved with the play. So on the surface, in theory, a sky judge should help clear that up to where maybe he can, reverse some calls that are made on the field and say, hey, it wasn't that egregious, pick it up. Or vice versa, help the referees correct missed calls. But I was reading Peter King's Monday Morning Football or Football Morning in America, his column this morning, and he was talking about this, and he was talking to Troy Vincent, who's very high up in the NFL ranks and is very involved with these rules. And they likened the Sky Judge to possibly having unintended consequences like the pass interference rule had this time last year. Remember, 2 years ago, 2018 season, you had the NFC title game between the Rams and the Saints. Obviously, the biggest thing coming out of that game was the missed pass interference call. And the Cal Roby-Coleman should have been called. Saints got a first down. They could bleed down the clock, kick a field goal, and they win the game. Said the call is missed. Clock stops, fourth down. Saints kick a field goal. The Rams get the ball back. They kick a field goal, obviously go to overtime, and the Rams win and go to the Super Bowl. And after that offseason, everyone's freaking out. How can you let that missed call happen? How can referees not be held accountable? How is there not a system in place to where if an egregious call is missed, right? If a call is that blatant and the referees don't get it, how can we make sure that doesn't happen again? And the NFL's way to address that was add a pass interference rule. So guess what? Coaches can challenge now pass interference. If it looks dicey, if a play like that happens again, you can have a coach throw the challenge flag. They can review it. And you hope at least that all of those egregious, obvious pass interference calls that are missed, or vice versa, maybe that, a ticky-tack call was fouled and it really wasn't pass interference, but it was called pass interference on the field, those plays be cleaned up and the right call at the end could be made. But guess what? That rule was such a disaster. All it did was add more uncertainty, and it made it harder to watch games, and we knew less, right? It was the same thing with the catch rule. We didn't know what a catch was for a while because now all of a sudden there was no consistency. There's no guidelines for what constituted a catch, what didn't constitute a catch. You have players catch the ball out of bounds, the ball goes out of their hand, it's a catch. Players in the end zone catch the ball, feels like they're walking around for 10 minutes, they drop the ball, incomplete. No one knew. And the pass interference rule was the same thing. You're challenging a judgment call. One referee could think it's a pass interference call. One referee could think it's not a pass interference call. So now you're going to have one referee make the call, then another referee go to the booth, discuss it, judge his intent and judge his judgment, and then make a ruling on it. It was a disaster. It was so bad. Think about this. It was a trial run last year. For 2019, it was put in for 1 year. They said, we'll see how it goes, and then we'll vote it to be permanent or not this year. That rule was such a disaster. It was such a failure. It's not even being voted upon. Think about that. It was supposed to be voted upon this year, this week, actually, to see if it could be permanently implemented. It was so bad. Everyone is on the same page with how brutal it was. It's not even going to a vote. It's just known we're not doing that again. One and done. It was a disaster. I'm worried that the Sky Judge could kind of have that same unintended consequence. We're watching a game, a big play happens. There was a borderline holding call that the referees didn't see on the back end of the play that the Sky Judge now sees, and he, buzzes down to the referee and has him throw the flag. That's not what we want. We need the Sky Judge to only be there to clean up egregious missed calls. That's the goal. Now, my worry is you really can't write a rule that outlines his duties, right? You can't say, hey, listen, your job is to just clean up the most egregious missed calls. Because guess what? My term of egregious, your definition of egregious, the other guy's definition of egregious, it's all different. An obvious call to me may not seem obvious to you. It may not be egregious to you that, okay, it happened. Is it egregious where you have to buzz down and change it? To me, I could say yes. You could say no. We're all going to be divisive again, and we're going to be in the same place in 2021. On May 25th, 2021, we're going to be in the same spot discussing this rule that we were this time last year discussing the pass interference rule. So I think Peter King's article and talking to Troy Vincent helped shed light because I was on board with this initially. I think, this is a good idea. Again, you have an extra set of eyes there just to clean up the game and make sure that egregious calls aren't missed. And he brought up the great point. Unintended consequences, just like the pass interference rule last year, are very viable and possibly could happen again with this Sky Judge compared to what we had the pass interference rule last year. So I'm very skeptical and very nervous, and I don't think the Sky Judge would be a good idea because you have to put it and implement it in a way that won't make the game more confusing to watch, I'll say, and add more controversy. You need to add more clarity. NFL cannot add more controversy when it comes to officiating. I'm not sure that there's a way so far in 2020 to implement an extra official without making it more controversial, without adding more doubt on what's going on the field. So I think the Sky Judge should wait off for a year, really having a way where you can prevent those unintended consequences. And again, make sure that only the play on the field is what we're focusing on instead of the referees. Pass on the Sky Judge, and I pray to God they put the onside kick rule. Take the onside kick out, 4th and 15 from your own 25. I think that would be great for the game and make it more exciting for sure.